which was, incidentally, exactly how many visits it took him to convince my mother to marry him. "It's not a fire hydrant," I said. "It's a parking meter, and I have 4 more bags." "4?" Andy pretended he was shocked. "What do you think you're doing, moving in or something?" Did I mention that Andy thinks he's a comedian? He's not. He's a carpenter. "Suze," Doc said, all enthusiastically. "Suze, did you notice that as you were landing, the tail of the plane kicked up a little? That was from an updraft. It's caused when a mass moving at a considerable rate of speed encounters a counter-blowing wind velocity of equal or greater strength." Doc, Andy's youngest kid, is 12, but he's going on about 40. He spent almost the entire wedding reception telling me about alien cattle mutilation and how Area 51 is just this big cover-up by the American government, which doesn't want us to know that we are not alone. "Oh, Susie," my mom kept saying, "I'm so glad you're here. You're just going to love the house. It just didn't feel like home at first, but now that you're here. Oh, and wait until you've seen your room. Andy's fixed it up so nice." Andy and my mom spent weeks before they got married looking for a house big enough for all 4 kids to have their own rooms. They finally settled on this huge house in the hills of Carmel, which they'd only been able to afford because they'd bought it in this completely wretched state, and this construction company Andy does a lot of work for fixed it up at this big discount rate. My mom has been going on for days about my room, which she keeps swearing is the nicest one in the house. "The view," she kept saying. "An ocean view from the big bay window in your room. Oh, Suze, you're going to love it." I was sure I was going to love it. About as much as I was going to love giving up bagels for alfalfa sprouts and the subway for surfing and all that sort of stuff. For some reason, Dopey opened his mouth and went, "Do you like the sign?" And that stupid voice of his. I can't believe he's my age. He's on the school wrestling team, though, so what can you expect? All he ever thinks about, from what I could tell when I had to sit next to him at the wedding reception, I had to sit between him and Doc, so you can imagine how the conversation just flowed, is chokeholds and bodybuilding protein shakes. "Yeah, great sign," I said, yanking it out of his meaty hands and holding it so that the lettering faced the floor. "Can we go? I want to pick up my bags before someone else does." "Oh, right," my mom said. She gave me one last hug. "Oh, I'm so glad to see you. You look so great." And then, even though you could tell she didn't want to say it, she went ahead and said it anyway, in a low voice so no one else could hear. "Thought I've talked to you before about that jacket, Suze, and I thought you were throwing those jeans away." I was wearing my oldest jeans, the ones with the holes in the knees. They went really well with my black silk tee and my zip-up ankle boots. The jeans and boots, coupled with my black leather motorcycle jacket and my Army-Navy surplus shoulder bag, made me look like a teen runaway in a made-for-TV movie. But hey, when you're flying for 8 hours across the country, you want to be comfortable. I said that, and my mom just rolled her eyes and dropped it. That's the good thing about my mom. She doesn't harp like other moms do. Sleepy, Dopey, and Doc have no idea how lucky they are. "All right," she said instead. "Let's get your bags." Then, raising her voice, she called, "Jake, come on, we're going to get Suze's bags." She had to call Sleepy by name, since he looked as if he had fallen asleep standing up. I asked my mother once if Jake, who's a senior in high school, has narcolepsy, or possibly a drug habit, and she was like, "No, why would you say that?" Like the guy doesn't just stand there blinking all the time, never saying a word to anyone. Wait, that's not true. He did say something to me once. Once he said, "Hey, are you in a gang?" He asked me that at the wedding, when he caught me standing outside with my leather jacket on over my maid of honor's dress, sneaking a cigarette. Give me a break, all right? It was my first and only cigarette ever. I was under a lot of stress at the time. I was worried my mom was going to marry this guy and move to California and forget all about me. I swear I haven't smoked a single cigarette since. And don't get me wrong about Jake. At 6'1", with the same shaggy blonde hair and twinkly blue eyes as his dad, he's what my best friend Gina would call a hottie. But he's not the shiniest rock in the rock garden, if you know what I mean. Doc was still going on about wind velocity. He was explaining the speed with which it is necessary to travel in order to break through the Earth's gravitational force. This speed is called escape velocity. I decided Doc might be useful to have around homework-wise, even if I am 3 grades ahead of him. While Doc talked, I looked around. This was my first trip ever to California, and let me tell you, even though we were still only in the airport, and it was the San Jose International Airport, you could tell we weren't in New York anymore. I mean, first off, everything was clean. No dirt, no litter, no graffiti anywhere. The concourse was all done up in pastels, too, and you know how light colors show the dirt. Why do you think New Yorkers wear black all the time? Not to be cool, nuh-uh. So we don't have to haul all our clothes down to the laundromat every single time we wear them. But that didn't appear to be a problem in sunny California. From what I could tell, pastels were in. This one woman walked by us, and she had on pink leggings and a white spandex sports bra, and that's all. If this is an example of what's de rigueur in California, I could tell I was in for some major culture shock. And you know what else was strange? Nobody was fighting. There were passengers lined up here and there, but they weren't raising their voices at the people behind the ticket counter. In New York, if you're a customer, you fight with the people behind the counter, no matter where you are, airport, Bloomingdale's, hot dog stand, wherever. Not here. Everybody here was just way calm. And I guess I could see why. I mean, it didn't look to me like there was anything to get upset about. Outside, the sun was beating down on those palm trees I'd seen from the sky. There were seagulls, not pigeons, but actual big white and gray seagulls, scratching around in the parking lot. And when we went to get my bags, nobody even checked to see if the stickers on them matched my ticket stubs. No, everybody was just like, "Bye-bye, have a nice day." Unreal. Gina, she was my best friend back in Brooklyn, well, okay, my only friend, really, told me before I left that I'd find there were advantages to having 3 stepbrothers. She should know, since she's got 4, not steps, but real brothers. Anyway, I didn't believe her any more than I'd believed people about the palm trees. But when Sleepy picked up 2 of my bags, and Dopey grabbed the other 2, leaving me with exactly nothing to carry, since Andy had my shoulder bag, I finally realized what she was talking about. Brothers can be useful. They can carry really heavy stuff and not even look like it's bothering them. Hey, I packed those bags. I knew what was in them. They were not light. But Sleepy and Dopey were like, "No problem here. Let's get moving." My bags secure, we headed out into the parking lot. As the automatic doors opened, everyone, including my mom, reached into a pocket and pulled out a pair of sunglasses. Apparently, they all knew something I didn't know, and as I stepped outside, I realized what it was. It's sunny here. Not just sunny either, but bright, so bright and colorful it hurts your eyes. I had sunglasses, too, somewhere, but since it had been about 40 degrees and sleeting when I left New York, I hadn't thought to put them anywhere easily accessible. When my mother had first told me we'd be moving, she and Andy decided it was easier for her, with one kid and a job as a TV news reporter, to relocate than it would be for Andy and his 3 kids to do it, especially considering that Andy owns his own business. She'd explained to me that I'd love Northern California. "It's where they filmed all those Goldie Hawn, Chevy Chase movies," she told me. I like Goldie Hawn, and I like Chevy Chase, but I never knew they made a movie together. "It's where all those Steinbeck stories you had to read in school took place," she said. "You know, The Red Pony." Well, I wasn't very impressed. I mean, all I remembered from The Red Pony was that there weren't any girls in it, although there were a lot of hills. And as I stood in the parking lot, squinting at the hills surrounding the San Jose International Airport, I saw that there were a lot of hills, and the grass on them was dry and brown. But dotting the hills were these trees not like any I'd ever seen before. They were squashed on top as if a giant fist had come down from the sky and given them a thump. I found out later these were called cypress trees. And all around the parking lot, where there was evidently a watering system, There were these